Is the money in your bank account actually growing, or is it just the number that's getting bigger? If your interest rate is lower than the price of milk and petrol rising, is your wealth actually increasing, or are you just watching your purchasing power slowly evaporate while you sleep? Okay, real talk for a second. You got your salary credited last month. Maybe it was 60,000 rupees, maybe 1.2 lakh rupees, maybe even more. Doesn't matter. You paid your rent, you paid your bills, maybe you ordered some biryani, and then the rest of it just sitting in your savings account. And you feel good about it, right? You feel responsible. You feel like you're doing the adult thing. I have money in the bank. I'm not broke. I'm sorted. And every month you check that balance, it goes up a little, and somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this very comfortable feeling of safety. Here's the problem. That comfortable feeling is costing you lakhs of rupees, possibly tens of lakhs over your lifetime. And the truly scary part, your bank is absolutely delighted that you feel this way. I'm Rohan, and I spend way too much time thinking about how ordinary Indians are unknowingly giving away their wealth to the banking system. If you're someone who works hard for their money but has no idea how much is too much to keep in a savings account or whether there even is a limit, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, I am going to give you an actual number, a rupee figure, and I'm going to show you with real math what happens above that number every single year that you don't act on this. Let's get into it. Let me ask you something. When you keep money in your SBI savings account right now, how much interest do you think you're earning? Take a guess. Really, pause and think. The answer, as of March 2026, is 2.5% per annum. That's it. SBI, ICICI, and HDFC are all at 2.5%. Axis Bank is a little more generous with their tiered structure. You can get up to 3 to 3.5% on standard balances depending on your slab, but let's be honest, we're still in the same ballpark. These are India's biggest, most trusted banks, and even the most generous of them is paying you maybe 3 rupees for every 100 rupees you park with them every year. Now here's what most people don't realize. India's CPI inflation in February 2026 was 3.21%. The RBI has literally set a medium-term inflation target of 4% going forward into the next 5 years, which means your money in a standard savings account at SBI or ICICI is generating a negative real return right now. Let me say that again in plain English. Your savings account is not just giving you low returns. In real, inflation-adjusted terms, your money is shrinking every single year it sits there. If you had 5 lakh rupees in your SBI savings account for 1 year, you earn 12,500 rupees in interest. But with 3.21% inflation, that same 5 lakh rupees needs to be 5 lakh 16,050 rupees just to have the same purchasing power as before. You earned 12,500 rupees, you needed 16,050 rupees. You're behind by 3,550 rupees. And that's this year, when inflation is relatively tame. Wait for the RBI's own Q1 FY27 inflation forecast to play out. They're projecting 4%, and that gap gets even worse. Look, I'm not here to make you feel dumb. I want you to understand why this happens because the savings account trap is genuinely clever. It's designed to feel safe. Here's the thing. Psychologists call it the money illusion. When you see a number on screen, say 4,28,500 rupees, that number feels real. It feels like wealth. And when it goes up to 4,39,200 rupees next month because of your salary, it feels like progress. But your brain is terrible, and I mean genuinely terrible, at accounting for inflation. We don't see inflation as a cost. We don't feel it the same way we'd feel a transaction fee or a bill. It's invisible, it's slow, it's death by 1,000 cuts. And this is exactly why banks don't need to force you to leave money in a savings account. You'll do it voluntarily because it feels safe, because the number on screen never goes down. Now you might be thinking, Rohan, okay, so the savings account earns 2.5%, big deal. At least it's liquid. I can take it out anytime. And that's a fair point. That's actually a good point. I'm not telling you to abandon your savings account. What I'm telling you is there is a specific amount beyond which keeping money in a savings account stops being a smart safety net and starts being an expensive mistake. That number? We'll get to it. But first, I need to show you what you're actually losing. Let's take a completely real scenario. Meet Priya. She's 28, working in Bangalore, earning 90,000 rupees a month. She's disciplined. She's not spending on nonsense. Every month she has about 30,000 rupees left over after expenses, and she's been stacking it in her HDFC savings account for 2 years. So she has about 7 lakh rupees sitting there. Feels great, right? Here's what's actually happening to Priya's money. At 3% savings interest, being generous with HDFC's rate, 7 lakh rupees earns her 21,000 rupees in 1 year. Now let's say she'd moved that same 7 lakh rupees into a simple SBI fixed deposit for 1 year. The rate as of March 2026 is 6.40% per annum. That's 44,800 rupees in interest. Difference? 23,800 rupees per year, gone, just because the money stayed in the savings account instead of an FD. And if she's in the 20% tax bracket, yes, FD interest is taxable, but even after tax, she's ahead. She'd net roughly 35,840 rupees from the FD versus 16,800 rupees net from savings. Note, this math assumes the new tax regime which most salaried people are in today. She's still ahead by 19,040 rupees per year. Over 3 years, without even adding more money, that gap compounds to over 60,000 rupees she never saw, just because the money sat in the wrong place. And before you say that's not that much, we're talking about one person, 1 lakh range salary and 3 years. Scale this to your lifetime. This is lakhs you're leaving on the table. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Bajaj Finance fixed deposits, which are AAA rated by the way, so we're not talking about some fly-by-night NBFC, are offering up to 6.95% per annum right now for regular investors. Small finance banks like Unity, Jana or Equitas are offering up to 8% plus on certain tenures. Even liquid mutual funds, which are almost as accessible as a savings account, your money is back in your hand in one business day, are currently averaging 6.5 to 7% annualized returns, with better tax efficiency than FDs if you are in the higher brackets. So the opportunity cost of sitting in a savings account beyond a certain threshold is massive, and most people have no idea. Okay, here it is. The general rule of thumb, and this is what I personally use and what most solid financial planners in India will tell you, is this. Keep a maximum of 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in your savings account. That's it. That's the number. Not your salary, your expenses. If your monthly expenses are 40,000 rupees, rent, groceries, bills, EMIs, everything, then the most you should keep in your savings account at any given time is 1,20,000 to 2,40,000 rupees. If you have more than that, every single rupee above that limit is costing you money by just sitting there. Now let's break down why this specific number. The lower end, 3 months, is your emergency floor. This is the minimum amount needed to cover sudden unemployment, a medical situation, or a family emergency. You need it liquid, you need it instantly accessible. Your savings account is the right place for this. The upper end, 6 months, is your comfort buffer. If your income is irregular, if you're freelancing, if your job has some uncertainty, go to 6 months. That extra cushion is worth the opportunity cost because the psychological security it provides helps you make better long-term financial decisions. Don't underestimate that. Beyond 6 months, that's not an emergency fund. That's just poor allocation.
Here's what most people don't realize. They confuse wealth accumulation with just making their savings account number bigger. They're not the same thing. A savings account is not an investment. It's a holding pen. Your money should stay there only as long as it needs to, and then it should go to work. Alright, now this is the part people actually want. Where should the money go once it's above your 3 to 6 month threshold? Let me give you a simple framework in order of where I'd move money first to last. Tier 1. Liquid mutual funds for 1 to 3 months of above threshold money. Think of liquid funds as your savings account's smarter cousin. You can redeem them in one business day. Many AMCs even offer instant redemption up to 50,000 rupees. Right now, top liquid funds like HDFC Liquid Fund and SBI Liquid Fund are averaging around 6.5 to 7% annualized, nearly 3 times what a standard savings account gives you. And there's a structural tax advantage I'll get to in a minute that makes them even more interesting for higher earners. This is the first bucket. Put 1 to 3 months of expenses here, above your savings account limit. Tier 2. Fixed deposits and RBI floating rate bonds for medium-term goals, 1 to 5 years. If you have a goal, a wedding, a car down payment, a foreign trip, and it's 1 to 5 years away, FDs are your friend. Right now, small finance banks are offering 7 to 8%, and even Bajaj Finance's AAA-rated FDs are at nearly 7%. The RBI floating rate savings bond is currently linked to the National Savings Certificate rate and is offering around 8.05%. These are solid, capital-protected options for your medium-term money. Tier 3. Equity mutual funds for goals 5+ years away. Here's the thing. If your goal is more than 5 years away, you should not be treating it like a savings account problem. Equity mutual funds over a 10-year horizon have historically delivered 12 to 15% CAGR in India. Even in down markets, patient investors who stayed in Nifty 50 index funds have come out well ahead. The SIP route makes this painless. Start with even 5,000 rupees a month if that's what you have. Now you might be thinking, but Rohan, FDs are taxable. If I'm in the 20% or 30% bracket, the post-tax return drops significantly. You're right, and I'm glad you're thinking about this. Let's address it directly. For someone in the 30% bracket, a 6.4 to 6.5% FD gives you an effective post-tax return of about 4.45 to 4.55%, which is still way more than 2.5% on savings. And with small finance banks or Bajaj Finance at 7%, your post-tax is close to 4.9%, still meaningfully better. And for liquid funds, here's the nuance most people miss. Yes, as of today, liquid funds are taxed at your slab rate, exactly like FDs. The final tax liability is identical. But here's where liquid funds have a massive structural advantage. There is no TDS, no tax deducted at source, eating into your returns every year. Just make sure you select the growth option when you invest. With an FD, if your annual interest crosses 40,000 rupees, the bank automatically cuts TDS before you even see the money. That forced tax payment interrupts your compounding. Year after year, a slice of your returns is gone before it can compound further. With a liquid fund, not a single rupee of tax is triggered until the day you decide to sell. Your money compounds completely uninterrupted on the full amount every single day until you choose to redeem, and you control exactly when that happens. Same final tax rate, completely different compounding story. That's the real advantage. But my money is safe in the savings account. What if the FD bank fails? Great question. Here's the actual law. Deposits up to 5 lakh rupees per depositor per bank are insured by the DICGC, Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. For large public sector banks like SBI, the chance of failure is essentially zero. For Bajaj Finance, which has 14 million plus customers and a AAA rating, it's about as close to zero as you get in the private sector. The safety argument for keeping everything in a savings account, it doesn't hold up. But managing multiple accounts, liquid funds, FDs, it sounds like too much work. I hear you. But think about it this way. Would you do 30 minutes of work once if it meant you earned an extra 20,000 to 50,000 rupees per year doing nothing? Because that's exactly what we're talking about. Set it up once, automate it, and let it run. Most AMC apps let you set up auto investments in liquid funds in under 15 minutes. Here's what I really want to leave you with. This isn't just the math of 2.5% versus 6.5%. This is about something deeper. Do you know what the RBI's own data says about Indian household savings? As of FY25, bank deposits, savings accounts and FDs combined are still the single biggest chunk of where Indian households park their financial savings. We're talking around 35% of all household financial savings sitting in bank accounts. That is a staggering amount of idle, underworked money. And here's what makes that stat so frustrating. Banks borrow your money at 2.5% and lend it out as home loans at 8 to 9%, personal loans at 12 to 18%, and credit card debt at 36 to 42%. They are arbitraging your own money against you. You are the silent lender. You are funding someone else's home loan, and your payment for doing so is a measly 2.5% with negative real returns. The most sobering realization in personal finance isn't that rich people invest, it's that they figured out, often very early, that you should never let money sit idle beyond what safety requires. Every rupee above your emergency buffer is a rupee in the wrong job. That mental shift from savings account is safe to savings account is a temporary holding zone is honestly the difference between building wealth and just getting by. Alright, let's make this super actionable. Here's your step-by-step plan. Step 1. Calculate your real monthly expenses, not your salary, your actual monthly outgo. Rent, food, EMI, subscriptions, transport, everything. Write it down. Be honest. Step 2. Multiply by 6. That's your savings account ceiling. For most urban Indians earning 50,000 to 1.5 lakh rupees a month with expenses of 30,000 to 70,000 rupees, this will be somewhere between 1.8 lakhs to 4.2 lakh rupees. Step 3. Calculate the surplus. Whatever is above that ceiling in your savings account right now, that's your idle money that needs to go to work today. Step 4. Move it in this order. First 1 to 2 lakh rupees surplus, open a liquid mutual fund account on Grow, Zerodha Coin or directly on an AMC app. Transfer it there. Next chunk for a goal 1 to 5 years away, book a fixed deposit with a good rate. SBI, HDFC, Bajaj Finance or a small finance bank you're comfortable with. Anything beyond that with a 5+ year horizon, start an SIP in a Nifty 50 index fund if you haven't already. Step 5. Set a monthly reminder. Once a quarter, just once, check your savings account balance against your expense ceiling. If it's crept above, automate the transfer out. That's the whole system. It's not complicated. It just requires you to stop treating your savings account as a destination and start treating it as a transit lounge. Look, I know that keeping money in a savings account feels safe. I know that seeing that number grow feels like financial progress. And I'm not here to dismiss that feeling, because honestly, building that buffer is the right first step. But once your emergency fund is full, once you have that 3 to 6 months of expenses locked in, every extra rupee you park in that 2.5% account instead of a 6.5% liquid fund or a 6.9% FD is a rupee actively working against you. India's financial markets in 2026 are giving ordinary investors genuinely good options. The RBI has cut rates by 125 basis points since last year, which means borrowing is cheaper, which means companies are investing more, which means equity markets have long-term tailwinds. FD rates, while slightly lower than 2 years ago, are still meaningfully above savings account rates. Liquid funds are accessible, regulated, and competitive. The tools are there. The question is whether you'll use them. One more thing, and I say this every time because it's genuinely true, none of this is complicated. The financial industry wants you to think this stuff is complicated because complexity keeps you passive. But the core insight of today's video is literally one idea. Your savings account is a holding zone, not a home. Figure out your emergency number. Keep that and only that in the savings account and set the rest to work. Do that one thing and future you will thank present you. As always, if this helped you, drop a comment below telling me how much excess money you found sitting in your savings account. I genuinely want to know. And share this with one friend who you know needs to hear this, because this is the kind of thing nobody teaches us in school. I'll see you in the next one.